about what police are doing in their search for these 11 escapees. We now know that at least one, maybe two, have been caught, brought back into custody. One of those is Kendall Miles. Now, Kendall Miles was also arrested for escaping the Bridge City Center for Youth a short while ago, and then allegedly went on a violent crime spree after that. Investigative reporter Mike Perlstein is joining me in the studio now with more on that. Now, Pearl, you've covered this extensively, as you know, in the last few years. His case in particular, I think, was of great concern with Bridge City. And now we're seeing yet again, he's allegedly involved in an escape, this time from, you would assume, one of the most secure parts of Orleans Justice Center.
Exactly. And this would be an upper floor of Orleans Justice Center, a tier or a wing that does house suspects awaiting trial for violent crimes. So you would assume that the security would be tighter. I know that they're still working on the exact mechanism that these inmates use to escape. However, this is not Bridge City. This is one of the, supposedly one of the most secure lockups in the region. This is the largest escape from this facility since it was built. There was the only other escape of this magnitude was, you got to go back to Hurricane Katrina, 2005, completely different facility, and that was an emergency flooding situation.
Completely different situation,
in which inmates said they had to swim for their lives, basically. But we've seen nothing on this scale. There is occasionally a runaway or an escape of an inmate during transport, but for 11 inmates to break out of a secure jail is a major security breach.
Yes.
And I can tell you, just to piggyback on the comments from NOPD Chief Ann Kirkpatrick, there was grave concern about the notification, the protocol of who was notified and at what time, because this is an all-points bulletin, all the eyes and ears of law enforcement on the ground. These are allegedly dangerous individuals. I can tell you that when I started hearing about the escape, there had been nothing official from the sheriff's office at that point. Even though the head count at 8:30 revealed the escapes, they are working on the assumption that the actual breach occurred sometime much earlier than that, before it was actually discovered. I was not getting a lot of information from inside the sheriff's office. However, when I reached out to people inside of NOPD, they were also largely in the dark, complaining about not being notified, where they are clearly the largest police force with eyes and ears on the ground in all corners of the city through the 8 districts. So I do think that there are going to be some serious questions raised about the protocol the sheriff's office used to notify not just NOPD, but state police, U.S. Marshals, and all law enforcement that would come to bear in this kind of a crisis situation. Let me just add one more thing. In the midst of trying to get information, I started hearing from the victims of violent crimes and their families with suspects locked up awaiting trial, wondering, do I have a list of names? Are one of those people out? Do I need to seek protection, to go into hiding, leave the area? That's how grave the level of concern was this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this picture that you're looking at on your screen right now is taken from a post from Troop NOLA that said, this morning, following multiple inmates escaping from the Orleans Parish Jail, Troop NOLA troopers immediately initiated investigative efforts to assist in the search. Utilizing intelligence-led techniques, troopers successfully located Kendall Miles, one of the escapees, in the French Quarter. As troopers attempted to make contact, the individual fled on foot. After a brief pursuit, the escapee was apprehended on Royal Street without further incident. Troopers continue to work closely with our local, state, and federal partners as the search remains active for the remaining escapees. Our priority remains the safety of the community and the swift apprehension of those still at large. So, Troop NOLA with Louisiana State Police took Kendall Miles, as you see on your screen there, in the back seat of a state trooper's vehicle, caught in the French Quarter on Royal Street. Now, Mike, there's a 2-lane graduation going on right now. That's what Rachel Hanley was just talking about because of the security concerns there. That Superdome is packed full of people right now, and that area is an area that is not that far from where this escape happened. So you would think that much of the search is happening in the area around where we are and, of course, that Superdome area.
And I can just tell you that that is not going to be, you know, a concern above and beyond anywhere else in the city because so much time has passed. We see that
Very
one of the
true.
escapees rounded up in the French Quarter, which is, you know, some distance from the jail. We have another escapee I can confirm was captured by the New Orleans Police Department. We're still getting the specifics on who and where that apprehension occurred, but enough time has passed, and this is one of the serious concerns about perhaps the slow notification, at least from the eyes of NOPD, who were waiting on official word of who they're looking for, where are the pictures, you know, where's the information, because escapees and any suspect being sought by law enforcement, they tend to go to known locations, family members, relatives, prior addresses. That is the information that needs to be disseminated to law enforcement as quickly as possible so they can fan out. I would say the Superdome probably not much of a hideout target for escapees, but their last known addresses and family members. And I will point out that the sheriff was very clear in pointing out that anybody caught aiding and abetting these escapees will also be arrested and held accountable.
Now, you're looking on your screen right now. These are 6 of those 11 inmates who escaped from the Orleans Justice Center this morning. A historic breach of security at that facility. This has never happened before since the New Orleans Parish Justice Center reopened. It was reconstructed after Hurricane Katrina with somewhat of state-of-the-art techniques and security in that facility. So many of them are wanted or being housed at the Orleans Justice Center pre-trial, waiting to stand trial on some very violent charges. And as you're looking at your screen right now, let's just go through at least the ones that we have names for: Antoine Massey, Lenton Van Buren, Leo Tate, Derek Groves, and Jermaine Donald. Now, we do know that Kendall Miles has already been brought into custody, and we heard from both Mike and Superintendent Kirkpatrick that the NOPD has captured another one of these inmates. We're not quite sure who that is yet, and we don't have that ID. But we do know that New Orleans police have been retracing the steps of these inmates as well. I mean, you know, as soon as they found the breach, as soon as they discovered where it happened. We don't know those details yet, but we would hope that the Orleans Justice Center and the Orleans Sheriff's Office is aware of where exactly these inmates got out. But you would assume, and I know just from talking to my sources, that, you know, they're retracing the steps. That's kind of how they're finding them. They're following the trail, so to speak.
Right, and you know, you kind of go backwards from where was their last known address? Where are their, you know, where do families live? And I can tell you that the concern on the part of victims and the family members of victims involved in these crimes, these are all suspects awaiting trial in violent crimes. So there are a wide range of victims who are frantically calling the district attorney's office. That's probably their main point of contact with a, you know, case in progress, as well as NOPD, as to whether, because we didn't have the names for quite some time, as to whether the person involved in their crime involving their family is one of the 11.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of uncertainty early on. Now we have the list, and obviously people can go to that on our website to learn of the names of those escapees and the family members who may have been victims in those crimes can take proper precautions. I understand one family I talked to personally has relocated out of concern. So that's the level of alarm that's going on in the city right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we have had a problem historically in New Orleans with victims and witnesses, you know, turning up injured or dead. So that is a very real concern. And I know that law enforcement agencies all across the justice system are taking that very seriously. Now, those pictures that we showed you a little while ago, we want to just let you know that those are